Hello, hello, hello. This is the Angels in Politics broadcast, and of course, I am your intermediary, the white collar goon, the creative and artistic manifestation of Angels in Politics. Remember, you are the news. You are the only individual that we think about, we care about, we know about. It's all about you. And I'm just keen to listen to your stories, of course. Like, tell me more about yourself. Tell me more about your journey. Tell me where you are on said journey, and how you feel about your maturation process. How you feel that you are transitioning into becoming self-actualized, self-realized, that optimal or optimized version of yourself, so you can utilize your spiritual gifts to the umpteenth degree, right? So that's where I'm at right now. Like, I mean, I pray every morning for God to expand my vessel on the cognitive level, on a psychological, mental level, of course, on an emotional, social level, and then lastly, physical level. Lord, expand me physically last, because, like, I understand, like, we are still of the flesh, and we have to crucify the flesh on a daily basis. It is a continual, ongoing process. Like, if the Lord were to give me my dreams and my aspirations when I wanted them, like, chances are I would not be doing the right things with them. I would not be in the position to wield such fortune, or to wield such high levels or large amounts of resources. And I probably wouldn't be, when I talk about the cognitive level, like, my intellectual faculties probably wouldn't be as sharp. I wouldn't be as perceptive as, or I wouldn't be as adept to deal with such manners to such a high regard. If I looked at the Lord like a magical 8 ball or some genie that could just grant me my wishes, like it was like the Dragon Balls, like I gathered the 7 Dragon Balls, and all of a sudden the dragon popped up and gave me whatever I wanted. Like, no, that's not how it would work, because I have to go through that process. I have to go through that level of understanding who I am and why I'm here and why I was born and why am I here in this moment, in this universe, at this time. Why wasn't I born 500 years ago, or 1,000 years in the future? Why was I born here on Earth but not in some other universe, not in some other alternative, like, I mean, like, we're not the only galaxy here. We're just one solar system out of how many galaxies? It's like, how many universes? Like, dude, like, we're not important in a holistic, in a grand scale, but at the where we are now, like, if you can listen to me right now, if you can, like, formulate an opinion right now, if you're, like, living and breathing, then you are truly very important, because this is not by coincidence. This is by design, right? So whenever I think back to, like, the whole like magic genie, or 7 Dragon Balls, and I like the number 7 because it goes to, like, the number of completion. It goes to, like, the 7 chakras. It goes to, like, I mean, and there's a lot of things that draw some type of, there's a continuity there with the number 7 for sure. If you're a numerologist, you can tell me a lot about the number 7 for sure, like that being the number of completion. That's just biblical. Like, you don't have to be a supreme mathematician to know that, but understanding yourself, and I guess that it could be going through the 7 chakras, and praying and meditating voraciously. It takes time, dude. It takes time, sister. Like, I know you might understand, or you might think that like, how important you are, but you have no idea. Like, sis, like, I know somebody has told you, oh, you're so bright, oh, you're so smart, oh, you're just clever as whatever the fucking metaphor is. Like, you're just so beautiful, you're just so good at things. You're just great at things. You're brilliant. Of course you are. But like, do you think that serves you any good for them to like stroke your ego? You've identified as a woman, you've identified uh, as whatever your nationality is, whatever your ethnicity is. You've identified with whatever your intellectual faculties or whatever intellectual or cognitive functions you have. Meaning, you've identified with your accomplishments due to your mental capacity. Like, okay, so now you're a doctor, now you're an attorney, now you are a engineer, now you are a mother, now you are a whatever, like, and mother is being something different. I'm sure that's a great thing. I'm pretty sure, I'm honestly positive being a mother is like one of the greatest things you can be in the world. But don't get bogged down with these titles. I'm just telling you that. Like, don't get bogged down with somebody telling you these things about yourself. It's about truly understanding, like, that you are not your mother, you are not your father, you are not your friends, you are not your wealth, you are not your intelligence, you are not your competence, you are none of those things. Those are all gifts from the universal. Those are all gifts from God. If you don't like the word God, you need to get used to it, because that's who you are. That's who you are. Okay, so that's just where I'm at with it. And if you are God, then you're not worried about, oh, I'm God who's a lawyer, or I'm God who won the triathlon or something, or I'm God who is a coach at the YMCA. Like, like no, like, this is you. You are a masterpiece because you are a piece of the master. But like, understand that. Like, understand that there is perfection within you. God is in you. You are that. But the flesh is covering that up. Like, your desires are pulling you other places. It's like if you read the Bhagavad Gita, like, it's like you're in the chariot, like if you're the protagonist, and this is your world, this is your movie, this is your star. You are the star, you are everything, right? You're the protagonist of this movie, right? But in the Bhagavad Gita, like, you're sitting in the chariot, and the charioteer, the person who's leading this chariot, is uh is Krishna. Krishna is another word for God, but God is leading the chariot. You're just sitting in it. You're the vehicle, brother. Like, sis, you are the vessel. You're the vessel right now. That's what your body is. Your body is the vessel, and God is inside, and He's really dictating what's going down. So once you start aligning yourself, and once you start releasing, surrendering, once you start to surrender the pride, surrender the ego is going to be the one that's telling you that you are this, that, and the third, and that you are of quality, so you shouldn't be doing this, or you are of less quality, so you need to be doing that, or, that's the ego telling you those things. The misidentification of the human ego is the cause of most people's suffering. I know it's the cause of mine. I know it was the cause of mine for sure. It was the ego telling me, like, bro, you need to be popping right now. Bro, you need to be rich right now. Bro, you need to be having some loft somewhere with multiple properties somewhere with the fucking fancy, lavish accoutrements and sports cars, with the decadent women somewhere respecting you. Like, that's what the ego would tell somebody like me. But it took me time, and it's still taking me time, and I had to fight and wrestle. But I'm not even wrestling physically. Like, it's the mental thing that just might cross your mind whilst you're meditating. It's the perpetual mind, the perpetual fluctuations of the mind are like, waves in your mental lake or your mental ocean. And once you get on a wave, that wave can take you to the next thing, and the next thought, and the next thought, and the next thought. And now You're offshore. You're off your path. You were meditating is like calming the lake. It's like calming the ocean so you can look at your reflection and see what God truly made you out to be, and see the reason why you are here, and see the reason why you need to be mindful and fully present of your spiritual gifts, of your powers, of your superpowers, because you homegirl, you brother, you are the archetypal, quintessential superhero. But you don't see that because of the constant, incessant mind chatter. It is incessant. It is almost like unstoppable. I mean, to the point whenever you tell people about meditating, they just say, I can't do it because my mind is always thinking about things. Really, brother? Like guess what? That's meditating, brother. Like, that's meditating, sis. Trust me on that. Trust me on that. We call that the monkey brain, and the monkey brain is turning the fuck up. The ego is the loudest person in the room. Like, imagine imagine your mind is like a boardroom, like a board of directors, a board of governors, which like the Federal Reserve or something. Like your mind is like a board of directors, and there's so many people that are sitting at the table. There's encouragement at the table, there's joy at the table, there's passion at the table, there's love at the table, there's empathy at the table, there's sympathy at the table, there's kindness at the table. I mean, like, the table is deep. There's diligence at the table, there's dedication at the table, there's humility at the table. Oh my gosh, but humility is in the back somewhere. The humility is getting kicked around, the joy is getting pushed around, and you know who's at the head of that table? The ego. The ego is the loudest motherfucker at the table. The ego is standing up on the couches. The ego is standing on the table, stumping his feet or stumping her feet. The ego is just talking and is making sure that he or she is heard. And listen, joy, listen, empathy, listen, happiness, listen, kindness, listen, altruism, listen, benevolence, listen, humility, humbleness, listen, faithfulness, whatever the fuck that is. Like, the ego is telling you, you don't have shit on me, because I need to get my mind off. I need to get my words out. I need to get my idea across. And the ego is going to tell you you're not shit. The ego is going to tell you you're not worth it. Your ego is going to tell you, like, you are lame, you are trash. The ego is going to tell you you need to stick with that job. It's not like you can do any better. You're not that smart. The ego's going to tell you stay in that relationship. I mean, yeah, he might be abusive, and yeah, he might call you out your name, and yeah, he may, like, really, like, not even go near your vagina. But, like, listen, like, it's not like you're pretty. It's not like you're competent. It's not like you are God. It's not like you have powers. It's not like you can do any better. Trust me on that. The ego is the one that's telling you that. Or in inverse. The ego is going to take that and go on the other side of the spectrum with it. The ego is going to say, homegirl, you are too good to be at a job. Why are you working? You need to be sitting somewhere with your feet kicked up somewhere, flying some other guy's private jet, or flying your own private jet that some motherfucker paid for because you got it like that. Your ego's telling you, like, yo, why are you studying and reading books and meditating? Like, you shouldn't be doing those things. Why are you going to the gym? Why are you exercising? Why are you going to a yoga class? Like, you shouldn't even be doing that. Like, you don't need to be doing that. All you need to be doing is just looking at yourself in the mirror and saying how great you are. All you need to do is just walk past the guys of interest, and they're just going to run after you and get you whatever you want. The ego is going to be telling you all of these things because the ego is going to identify that you are the beautiful whatever, you are the bad whatever. The ego is going to tell you, like, you need to post yourself on this social platform, and based on how many likes or double taps or retweets or whatever the fuck it is that you are seeking, the ego is going to stroke. It's like a fire, and it's going to get bigger and bigger, and the ego is so loud. The ego is so loud. The ego is turned up. Like, the ego is that friend where it's like, yo, can you not be like that? But, like, at the same time, you kind of like the fact that they're like that. Like, that's what the ego is. Like, the ego is, like, the best part of you, but it's also the worst part of you. If you didn't have an ego, you wouldn't be running in the triathlon. If you didn't have an ego, you wouldn't make partner. If you didn't have an ego, you wouldn't have started that business. If you didn't have an ego, you wouldn't be in grad school right now, excelling with straight A's. But at the same time, because of that ego is the reason why you feel like you are inadequate, because you didn't get the best grades. It's also the same time where you feel like the ego is the one that's telling you you aren't beautiful because you didn't get the likes or retweets or double taps as the next woman. The ego is the one that's telling you that there's a problem with you because your physique or your body structure or your body type isn't like Selma Hayek's or something. Like, like that's what the ego does. It's very polarizing because you're identifying with it. You're identifying with it. The ego's never going to go anywhere. But one thing that you will know, if you look at some of the Hindu, like, I guess, symbolisms or emblems or motifs, they'll have, they have various, they have, Krishna, they have Shakti, and they have Shiva. But one thing I do like about, the Shiva statue, and they have Krishna, of course. But one thing I do like about the Shiva statue is that he's a powerful being. He's supposed to be, supreme, whatever it is, supreme consciousness, supreme, all-knowing, supreme whatever. But he has his foot. He has snakes around his neck and snake wrapped around his waist, and he has the dark blues, skin, and he has the moon on one side because he's that lunar energy, of course, and it's trapped in the bottom of the spine. And when you talk about snakes, you're talking about the serpents. You're talking about serpents. You're talking about Kundalini. You're talking about solar. You're talking about the lunar. You're talking about the divine feminine. You're talking about the divine masculine. You're talking about Christ consciousness. You're talking about awakening, those. You're talking about integrating the shadow. You're talking about a lot of things. But either way, he in one of the statues just shows Shiva stepping on a little baby with horns on it, and it's like, wait, why would you be doing that? But that little object with the horns, that's the ego. And he's not stepping on it like get off of me, homie, or he's not stepping on it like trying to kill it. It's like a soft, gentle, or genteel, foot that is placed on the ego to show that, yo, I'm not here to kill you. I mean, I need the ego. The ego is a part of you. The ego is your personality. Trust me on that. But the foot is placed on it to show that, motherfucker, you're not in charge. That's what you need to do, homegirl. Whilst you're meditating, you're the monkey brain, the incessant brain, the incessant chatter, the perpetual fluctuations of the mind that causes the mental waves that are on the surface of your ocean of opportunity, your ocean of optimal wealth, your ocean that covers your reservoir of untapped manifested powers and talent. You need to calm those. And when you calm those, the ego is like, yo, the ego starts to turn up because it's like, I've been running you the whole time. For 30 years, 50 years, 60 years, for 16 years, you've been doing what I wanted you to do because you've been living for your desires, motherfucker. You've been living for your desires. You've been living for recognition. You've been living for somebody to tap you on the shoulder and stroke your ego by saying you're beautiful, by saying you're smart, by saying you're brilliant, by saying these things. If you have control over me, you think the ego's gonna give up that easily? Like, no. Like, you think if the ego was the loudest person in your board of directors in your head, and all of a sudden you start to put the foot down and say, hey, man, love is here, and love doesn't really respect that. Humility is here, We have faithfulness here. We have kindness here. We have altruism here. We have appreciation here. And even though appreciation is such a kind person, appreciation is going to let you know, ego, we're not here for it. That's what meditation does. That's what training the mind does. That's what exercise does. That's what renouncing or renunciation or renouncements does. Oh my gosh, like you're almost there, girl. You're almost there, sis. One day at a time. God bless you. Namaste and namaskar. Namaskar.